morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm hoping I'm on the right channel. Let's see how many people kick in to our live. Not sure how many people are on here. Hopefully I'm on the right one. And we're going to see if we can bring a guest in. So here we go. Guest is being admitted. So everyone out there, we're a few minutes early. But before we get stuck into this, here we go. Now we are trying to bring in a guest. I can actually send this link out to other people as well, but Andy, the English Gabby Cabby, is trying to enter the room. We'll see how Andy the Gabby Cabby gets in. I've just admitted you to the room, by the way, so we'll see what comes up. And if it comes up on the screen, it should do it any time if you wish to send that. Well, Wilnut, good evening. Susan Riley, good evening. Jason, good evening. Oh,
yay! It worked.
I can see you. Can you see and hear me?
I can. 5x5.
Well done, that man. So we're not technically live. Well, we are live, but we're not actually starting the show for another two minutes.
Okay.
I'm not sure. You've probably not been able to set your green screen up on this platform before, have you?
No, that's the problem. Where you haven't got a real bookcase like you've got behind you and a pretend one. When you come on Rumble and you ain't set it up properly, it looks like this. So my bookcase has disappeared.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Not a problem anyway. But it's a little bit more difficult in Rumble to set up the green screen. Not massively, but it is slightly different. It's a different platform, and for every platform, it's got a different way of doing it, which starts to getting it on everyone's nerves after a while. And once you get used to one platform, you tend to stick to it.
Yeah. I like to have a play with it. I use that OBS thing a lot of the time and do everything on there. This is the first time I've been live with somebody since I've had a play around with my internet stuff indoors. So hopefully it will be stable.
Well, it seems pretty stable to me, to be honest with you. So not a problem with that. Let me just make sure everyone else. So can everyone see and hear Andy, the English Gabby Cabby, in big English letters on the screen, and obviously myself? Give us a 5x5 if you can see us and hear us, and we're on the right platform, meaning the full English show on Rumble, because I've got another channel on there as well. So give us a 5x5 and we'll go in there, and then we'll get to the discussion. So let me just, for anyone who doesn't know Andy the Gabby Cabby, do you want to introduce yourself, where you come from, how you come about, and where your main platform is?
Yeah, sure. Well, most people in the chat have probably seen and heard of me already. I mean, I was up in Chester with you at the big election trial, wasn't I? Yeah. I've been at this internet thing for about 6 years now. Actually, started it during lockdown. I'm a taxi driver from Margate in the southeast. Run my own business, and when we all got told to stay at home, protect the NHS and save lives and all that other old bullshit that too many fell for, I was one of them. Picked up a phone, started recording videos, and the rest is history. Thought at the time I was British, since realised I'm English, and banging the drum for it ever since. So here I am.
Well done, and well done for actually being entrepreneurial enough to try and get the message out to people, which is what a lot of people struggled with. I mean, we've obviously, and I've been doing this for a long time, but I've had my channels taken down, I've had my Facebook taken down, my Twitter taken down, everything taken down, because they didn't like us talking directly about what was going on with, in effect, the mind virus and the nonsense. But tonight we're actually going to be talking about one of your successes,
Oh yeah.
which is you wrote a letter to Rupert Lowe, and then I think it was 2 weeks after you published it on Twitter. Do you just want to explain what you said, and I mean not word for word, but obviously just give an explanation of the letter that you sent out?
Yeah, one thing that Restore Britain do or are doing, which most of the other parties are doing, they quite often conflate the word British with our actual nationality. And as Graham has said so many times, there's no such thing as British. It's a fake thing made up by the communists in 1948. End of story. And the problem is, we need to know that any party that's going to save us understands the difference. And I thought, I know, I'm going to write a letter to Rupert Lowe and I'm going to ask him, where do you stand on this English question? And because I didn't get a reply for ages, I stuck it online and I got attacked. And it's amazing when you try and, tell people the truth, how their brain just melts and they don't want to hear it and they start attacking you. And I sent the letter to Rupert's house, which was probably a bit cheeky, but I was well aware that because I'm not one of his constituents, he's duty bound to ignore me. So I thought, well, I'll just write to his house. And
As the
eventually,
leader.
yeah, as the leader. And eventually, a good month later, I got a reply in the post today.
And the basis of the questions put was that you was concerned about the English not being represented, and the fact that we had on numerous occasions been conned by all these people because we do not have representation.
That's right.
And there was a reply. So what I'm going to do is try and find the image that I've got on there. Let me find it, and I'll bring it up on the screen so everyone understands. But today, again, this is obviously redacted, and I'll bring it up on the screen. And everyone should see this come up on the screen. Touch wood.
While you're doing that, is my connection and picture stable? Because my thing's going on and off like the clappers, but
Well,
hopefully I'm still here.
it appears very stable at the moment, so it might be
Brilliant.
just doing some catching up on the back. So on the screen, not sure what you can see in the background there, but Rupert Lowe MP, House of Commons. Again, 15th of May 2026 was the response. Your address is obviously redacted. Dear Mr. Gifford, thank you for your letter of the 14th of May. I enclose a copy of our deportation policy document, which you may find of interest. And there's something else I'll be talking to you about in a couple of seconds. Well, a little bit further on, you might find of interest, right? So the clear thing that I'm actually trying to point out to people is this line. I'm hoping everyone can see it on the screen. I have always made it clear that I support England and the English. Full stop. Right? So it's there in black and white. He then goes on to say the Act of Union was, and I've made reference to this in past tense, a strength, but Europe opened up old wounds with regional governments which have been divisive. And I've got quite a bit I could say about that. But again, that means he is against regionalisation. If he's against the regionalisation of Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, then he is most definitely against the regionalisation of England, which is set up to destroy England completely. We would no longer be a nation anymore. But then he goes on to say, and bearing in mind this is an actual letter from Rupert Lowe, I can assure you Restore Britain is what it appears to be, and there is no hidden agendas, because in your original letter you said, I'm confused. I need you to spell out that there's no hidden agendas. What we see on the tin is exactly what it is.
Exactly
And
right.
he has put that. Would you please be kind enough to write to the House of Commons in future? And again,
Yeah.
there was no disrespect meant there. It's the fact that he's the leader of the political party, and you sent a letter recorded delivery to his business address, basically, and you got a reply. So, and then it is, as you can all see, with best wishes, yours sincerely, and it's actually signed by Rupert. There is no PP. In other words, it wasn't signed by someone else. Like many people have, I've seen a few people state online that that's this Alistair guy. This has been read, approved, and signed by Rupert Lowe MP himself. So just to make sure everyone's got that, and why it's important. Again, I'll let you talk through because I think it's important. I'll take that off the screen for a second there. What else did you get sent?
I got sent a book, and it was a book about the history of Rupert Lowe's family-run business on the centenary of that business, and it was started by, I think it was his grandfather. He put. And I just started reading the foreword and the history of all of it, and what that was showing me, his family at least is one of the people that very much got their hands dirty to build this nation of ours.
Yeah.
Or in particular the area that they inhabit, and it was literally probably that thick. I'm going to very much enjoy reading it. 130, 140 pages, but that was above and beyond. He didn't have to do that, so that was just another little thing.
Well, so I was particularly impressed by that because once you showed me the book, I've done some research, or more, I should say, further research on Rupert Lowe, and you're correct in what you say. His grandfather started a business over 100 years ago, and it was electrical and mechanical engineering. It was initially electrical engineering when electricity was being not the transmission systems were being created in England, and his grandfather and then his father were highly involved in developing engineering and then putting those electrical systems in place. They built a business from that. They're not just in Oxford, where the centre of the business came from, or where it was first initiated. They are in Southampton, if I remember rightly, Gloucestershire, and there was one other place they was at as well. But the point being, they're engineers and they're engineering people, mindsets, etc. So part of that reminded me of my own dad, grandfather, and grandfather, and grandfather, and grandfather that taught us a trade, which in effect was engineering and metal spinning. And my father had owned and operated a factory for many years. His dad before him did. And there's a similarity with the type of people. And the reason I'm mentioning this, Andy, is because it differentiates him between Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. Nigel Farage has always been involved with politics. I describe those type of people with political degrees and then go into politics, even though Nigel Farage hasn't got a political degree. Rupert Lowe also went to university outside of Oxford, I may add, in Reading. And he then went into the city where he understood business from literally a physical level. He understood how to make money. He understands marketing, which is really important, finding out what people want. And then obviously producing what either the country needs or what the people want. So I think there's a massive difference. And when you look at Nigel Farage telling everyone that he worked in the money markets and the metals exchange, etc., in London. He was actually what's known as a blue bun, which means he was a gopher, uh, and done all the administration tasks for people like Rupert Lowe, who
Mm.
actually put all the deals together. So there's a big difference between the way or the mindset of Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage. That's the most important thing. But really and truthfully, and again, we both get this, he's got skin in the game,
Oh, definitely.
generationally.
Mm. I mean, one thing that impressed me about the book, and when my first impression when I looked at it, and I said this to you privately, was I'm going to read this because I get the impression if I read it, I'm going to understand more. And he might have 30 million quid, 60 million quid, or whatever it happens to be wrapped around him right now. But the roots, the very start of him, he comes from a family environment with a family business. You know, here, son, I'm going to teach you the family way now, sort you out, send you on your way. So, you know, he started where we are
Yeah,
eventually, you know, built himself up. So he's
yeah.
just a normal geezer, really. He's just a very rich normal geezer.
And 9 out of 10 times, people don't realise how much effort you have to put in to become wealthy. And just to make sure I emphasise this, because I want everyone listening to understand this, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like taxation in the way it's operating at the moment.
Mm,
And that is, it's not how much you earn that makes you wealthy; it's what you do with it, right?
yeah.
So, all of them people out there, and they can do what they like with their money. If they go along and get their weekly wages and want to spend half of it in the pub, that's entirely their business, right? If other people decide that they want to invest their money, whether it be in stocks, shares, or save up and build their own business and want to work for themselves and then create more wealth by then creating people that work for them, again, it's what you do with your money, not how much you actually earn. And I think Rupert Lowe and his family have proved that, just like my dad did.
Well, he says they got people that work for him for years, generationally. You know, the loyalty works both ways. They got a job and everything else. It's like my own business. You know, I earn a pound note out of YouTube, and as a result of that, 4 men get work, 4 families get fed. You know, it's the same family-run businesses all over the place if they work properly. And I go back to the idea again. He's got an idea how the world works, unlike these university-educated idiots that we've got in our commons right now.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. Absolutely agree with that. And again, you can go and look up his family business website. It's actually called Low, Low, and Oliver.
Oliver.
So Oliver isn't in relation just to Oliver Cromwell. It was the business partner of his father or of his grandfather, because they both come together and created a business. And again, there is a correlation between that and my father's own business, where he was in business not only with his brothers but also with a personal friend who was also an engineer, and done all the tooling and other bits and pieces in the factory so they could use their own lathes and spin. So again, getting back to this letter and the situation, I've noted that you have put out that you support Restore Britain now that you've had the response. But so, do you want to explain your feelings on that and how much of an effect that letter has had on you, and give you confidence in Restore Britain?
I currently have confidence in Rupert Lowe. I believe Rupert Lowe. I believe Rupert Lowe to be a sincere man. And when you listen to what he says on interviews and things like that, you can tell he's heading in the right direction. the people that did well in Great Yarmouth, they're normal working class everyday people. Rebecca Shephard is an everyday working class person.
I agree.
I think that some of the people that run Restore, being a lot younger, I mean, pardon me for swearing, but fucking hell, I feel old looking at some of them. Even I'm old enough to be their father, and I'm not quite 50 yet. But they're all the product of an education system that tells them they're British and tells them various things are true. Where one thing that people have lost the skill of over the years is the ability to critically think for themselves. So if somebody says, "Oh, the sky's blue," they'll believe them without going outside and checking. That's very important. You need advice, you need advisors, you need steering. So that's my only criticism really with Restore. They need to understand the nuances. They need to get the proper advice. I mean, we said at the beginning, I'm a working class taxi driver from Margate. I thought I was British. I thought it was all the same, but I met you send me stuff, piques my interest. I start reading, I look at the law, I think, my God, we've all been conned, and it's trying to get other people to realize that as well. And Restore, as you put it as well, the closest we're going to get at the moment to where we want to be. We're not going to get everything we want all at once, all the time, and
No.
completely save England like that. It's stages, in my view, and this is the first stage. And if we can convince people, with Rebecca Shephard right now, but going forward, that voting is absolutely necessary, because I'm a numbers man, as I'm sure you are. When there's a by-election or an election, right, I want to know the size of the electorate, how many of them turned out, never mind vote share. I want to know how many turned out, how many voted, and the ones that didn't, why not? They
Yeah.
need to get off their arse and get down the polling station. That's how we fix this. We need to awake the English.
And it is crucial that you have just mentioned that and stated what you've just stated, because, again, if you look at the Constitution of England, the monarch, who is required constitutionally to assent to laws or dissent to laws, the monarch or the crown, the sovereign, whichever way you want to describe them, is not allowed by law to abstain.
Mm.
So anyone out there moaning and bitching about the way this country is currently operated, the fact that we are being invaded, that the fact that well in excess of 250,000 English girls, some Scots, some Welsh, some Irish, have been raped, and this has been allowed to happen, one way that you could have stopped that is by voting, and voting for the right people. So I just want to emphasise this to everyone. If the Crown himself has to make a decision, cannot, in negative or positive, cannot abstain, right? They have to vote on a law to bring it into law or to reject it, which hasn't happened since 1708, but that's a slightly different story. The point is, your ancestors fought for the right to vote. People died at Peterloo near Manchester, and this is crucial. This where we're talking about now, in Makersfield, is very, very close to Petersfield, where 19 of us was slaughtered by the yeomanry, the British yeomanry, on the orders of a magistrate. And people need to understand that they died for your vote. So people have to vote. You can't express that you are part of the sovereignty of this nation unless you vote, right? So currently, they're taking away our juries. They've taken away our grand juries. They are literally flooding the country with migrants against our will. And the only people that can change that are a group of people who are saying, we will stand for the English, we will stand for the United Kingdom as it originally existed, right? And because that's one of the things that Rupert has said in that letter, in effect, and it is really since 1948 and Clement Attlee, the Fabian, that brought in the British Nationality Act that allowed this situation to happen. So if you want to describe yourself as sovereign, you have to act like a sovereign, and that is you have to cast your ballot. You have to. You cannot abstain.
I mean, there's two things I want to mention. First, just move away from that, and then I'll come back to it very briefly. Lucy White, she gets it. 110%, she gets it. She mentions the British Nationality Act and everything else. We need to have a conversation with her, definitely. But if we move back to Parliament, what people seem to lose sight of is what was supposed to happen. And what I'm about to say, you can find this in the archives. It's all out there if you go looking for it. Let's take my area where I live. On last count, there was about 140,000 people that live here in and around the area. If all 140,000 people went up to Westminster and said, this ain't a bit of us, we want to sort this out, that's no good. So one of our number, one, is nominated to go and sit in that house and air our views and grievances on our behalf. Correct. The same with Surrey, the same with Sussex, the same with everywhere else. That's Parliament. That's how it worked. That's what we've lost sight of. That Commons, House of Commons, that's ours. It's not theirs. It's ours. Since the Parliament Act, 1911, is it, Graham? We've just had a complete political business turned into place. It's criminal.
Well, it is criminal because politics, unfortunately, is organised crime at the highest level. That's exactly what's going on in this country. Prior to the Parliament Act of 1911, and this is crucial, only people like Rupert Lowe were members of Parliament, right? Because they were businessmen. They didn't get paid. And again, Rupert Lowe is giving his salary away to local charities in his constituency. The point being, we were warned in 1911 by those same men in that Parliament, you are going to create a political class, and you do not want to do that. And they, from that political class, they created a profession of politics, the most corrupt, criminal element anywhere in any nation is that corrupt political element, because it corrupts absolutely. It has corrupted the judiciary. It has corrupted literally every institution, including at the universities, who now pump up and pump out this nonsense that we haven't got a constitution. So there's plenty to be said for Restore Britain if they're restoring the constitution. I noticed another lady that is involved with Restore Britain. Her name is Lydia, and she also gets it in quite a big way. Unfortunately, she was one of the victims of the systematic rape and torture. There's nothing to do. All this grooming nonsense needs to be put to one side. It is rape and torture. So what's your opinion as well, just to make sure we're getting this across? I know you've mentioned it quite a few times on your show. The rape and torture gang inquiry. What do you think of its findings in particular?
Obviously, first and foremost, horrific. I've been reading some of the witness statements since it come out. I listened to one last night, which you read out. Chloe, the amount of years of her life she lost because of abuse, and she'll still be suffering now. She'll never get over it. Never get over it. And one of the things I looked at first of all was who's responsible for this outrage, and the list of names that I saw were unbelievable. Councillors, politicians, both past and present, predominantly Labour, either current or had some dealing with them in the past, some Conservatives, police officers, councillors. Now, there's a very common theme here in what I'm mentioning. These are all people in areas of responsibility, people that are supposed to keep you safe, people that are supposed to represent you, people you're supposed to trust. And if they knew something was going on, why didn't they stop it? Did they know it was going on? Why did they ignore it? Did any of them, and this is just an opinion, I'm not chucking an accusation anywhere, did any of them take any active part in it at all? If so, why wasn't any of this stopped? And there's something you've mentioned many times before, Graham, Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture. If you read the top of that, that tells you exactly who that covers. All of those I've just mentioned. And if you look right at the bottom, it says life imprisonment if convicted. Mandatory. So every one of them out.
Well, so you've mentioned a couple of things. The next part of the show, I'm going to be talking about a couple of reasons why everyone needs to vote. First of all, impeachment, there's another word for it, which I'll bring up. Hopefully, I'll be able to show it on the screen. But you can't impeach these judges unless you carry out a certain process. So to carry out the process, you need to elect. Let me see if I can bring this up on the screen. How it works in basic terms, right? So this is the constitutional. It comes from the Act of Settlement of 1701, right? Tenure. Superior Court judges hold office during good behaviour. This means they cannot be removed at the monarch's whim, as of before the Act of Settlement of 1701. Bearing in mind, this was to the Act of Settlement of 1701 was further protecting our rights and our liberties. Right. 2, a removal trigger. If there is serious concerns about misconduct or incapacity, Parliament can act. Now, for Parliament to act, you have to elect these people, our people, into them positions to do the following. The address. This is so simple. The address. Both the House of Commons and the House of Lords pass a formal resolution called an address asking the monarch to remove the judge. This is usually moved by government ministers. So you would have to take control via voting, and then we would, what we mentioned earlier, there is a process, and the process must be followed. Otherwise, they are going to lead you into a civil war. We don't want that. What we want is for people to come out, to vote, to put our people in there, and then to dismantle the career politicians, the career criminals that now reside in that Parliament and in our institutions. And this is the way you do it. The monarch's role, the King or Queen, formally removes the judge based on a joint address, and the monarch has no discretion, right? It's a constitutional formality. No full trial required by the Act, so there doesn't have to be a trial. All there needs to be is so think of Rupert Lowe. He's been putting motions forward in Parliament. If it's full up with our people, we put the motion forward. All it needs to be is a majority, not a super majority, just a majority. So if it's 101 to 1 positive in our favour, that judge is gone, right? And again, we will act to make sure that the situation that we've got with hereditary peers being removed is reversed, because they've all got skin in the game as well. They've been taken out by communists, and technically without peers of the realm or hereditary peers, you have no monarchy. It's quite simple for people to understand. So what we're getting at here is, if you don't vote, none of this is possible. And the process to take back England was put in place by our ancestors constitutionally, so there would never be a return to violence. And that's what we've got to start getting the message out. You've mentioned Lucy White. she's very switched on. She fully gets and understands the British Nationality Act of 1948 and the fact that that was treasonous in its operation, and the fact that it was put in place by a Labour government 3 years after we lost the war to the Soviet Union, and that set the ball rolling or advancing, because there were other things that happened before that to destroy England. So again, what we've got to do is keep promoting this and keep pushing England and the non-violent way in which we as the people can take back control of our own nation.
Well, one of the reasons I think it's important to clarify why I personally get so cross with British and English being conflated all the time. Let's say you take me for example. I'm born in the 70s, and on my birth certificate, when you look at it, it says I was born in Margate in England. I'm English. But if you look at the British Nationality Act 1948, which I would have been subject to until 1981 when the revised version came out, I'd be considered British under that act. Now, if you take Johnny Foreigner, who comes across the channel on one of those rubber dinghies, turns up here and gets everything paid for him, stays in this country for an inordinate amount of time, gets a visa, gets whatever else, eventually at some stage, they could be given British citizenship, a British passport. So when one of these MPs goes on and says, oh, that's abhorrent what that individual did, we need to remove them to keep the British people safe, you're talking about the fricking foreigners as well as the likes of me, you and everybody else. That's why I get so cross. And that's why people need to know the difference.
Absolutely. And again, people need to know that banishment was a standard form of punishment in England. You could literally ring a bell by a church. You had 30 days. The coroner's court would come along. Your 30-day start when you ring the bell. You admit to the crime, and they give you 30 days to get out of the country without anyone touching you. If you ever come back, they'll hang you. Right. So they literally banished people and got them out. Some people will probably say that we would do it in reverse this time. That is, we'll hang the perpetrators before we send them out.
Absolutely.
But I do agree. So again, referring back to this letter, which is encouraging, tomorrow is the election in Makerfield. Rebecca Shephard, you've already mentioned it, is a working person. She certainly isn't one of them, as it were. She's a normal person. She stayed out of the limelight. She's been knocking on doors and actually talking to people and getting on with personal canvassing, which I can tell everyone now is absolutely exhausting. Thousands of people have gone to Makerfield to assist in leafleting because, as we know from our case, the Royal Mail have got a key way of getting rid of your leaflets, even though you've paid for them, which is to dump them.
Yeah.
So it's important that people push forward. But so what else would you say to people? Tomorrow's literally, I mean, the postal voting's gone, but tomorrow is election day. Hopefully, there'll be quite a few people. I'm possibly going to be monitoring that, hopefully, throughout the evening as well. But I mean, what would you say to the people of Makersfield again now? What would you be your advice to them?
Well, there's a couple of things. I've seen and responded to a load of these polls going out, trying to convince everybody that Restore ain't got a cat and hell's chance. And I've said ignore them, because if you look at the sample size they take, it doesn't give you a clear picture. You'll only know that if you go out burning shoe leather and knocking doors. Worry about what's on the door. And you've got to get down that polling booth and you've got to vote. Otherwise, you are complicit in what I call the game continuing with Labour and everyone else. All of the rhetoric they're coming out with, that's what they're trying to manoeuvre you into, still playing the game. And then when you get to the count is the most important thing. Because if you look at the narrative that Labour was spinning right back at the start of this, some geezer gave up his seat so Andy Burnham could slide in. Now, that's a fit-up job in itself before you go anywhere else. Oh, look, he'll win his seat. Let's kick Starmer out. It seems like it's all staged to play out that way. So that immediately rings alarm bells in my head, and we've experienced this ourselves with Chester. You know, are they lining up something? So this is why you have to overwhelm the count with people with the
Exactly.
intention to vote. Overwhelm it. Counting agents, and I've said this repeatedly, keep a very, very, very close eye on what's going on. And, you know, someone like Rupert Lowe, he's got the finances to do something about it if there's any funny business going on.
Exactly.
And on my YouTube, not YouTube, on my X, I actually did a little video demonstration of how they cheat at the election, how easy it is, the sleight of hand. So the main thing is get out and vote, overwhelm it, don't let them.
No, it is much more difficult. It's easier for them to cheat the lower the turnout, the higher the turnout, and it becomes more overwhelming. And again, we already know that people in that area, the red wall, in effect, has always been a fraud. And as they started to lose support, which means people stopped voting Labour, they resorted to cheating, common purpose, trained people in the illusion and how to do it, which is why, and it happened with Andrew Bridgeton in Leicester. I mean, 2 weeks before, I believe it was the election, they swapped out the whole election team that had been there for somewhere in the region of 14 years, the same count team. They swapped them out. What happened in our election in Runcorn and Helsby, again, they, and you've got to be very careful when they go for a recount, especially careful with any form of recount when they only do a bundle recount, because they contain the fraud within the bundles, so no one actually sees the fraud itself. You need an individual bundle recount. So yeah, again, I'm going to wish them the best of luck. They've got to get out there and do something. I've said it during our own conference in Mablethorpe. I can't see into the minds of all the people that operate within Restore Britain. I can see some really good people. I can see some really good people that are standing up for England. There are some changes going to have to be made. I've never understood how, even if you're Scottish, Welsh, or Irish, if you can't get elected in your own constituency in Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, you're allowed to come to England and be elected, and therefore you're the representation of Scotland and the representation of Northern Ireland, the representation of Wales starts to expand, and yet we have no representation in England. There's not a single English MP.
No, absolutely. I mean, what I'd like to see in an ideal world, this act of union that we talk about often has completely destroyed the British Isles, England, Scotland, Wales, the relationship between them all. I'd like to see that get dumped. I'd like us to go back to something like a common law union and the crowns, where we're a brotherhood of nations. I'd like to see distributed governance within England again, so the counties and shires take care of themselves, and a light touch parliament that minds their own fucking business and lets everybody live their lives and only come together where there's some kind of mutual problem, like something sitting off the coast wanting to come and have a go or something like that. Other than that, but we're not going to get there like that.
No,
It's
I
got to
agree.
be chipped away. And this is the first step.
And again, if you think about the letter that you got in response from Rupert Lowe to you, he talks about the regions, and devolution being a serious problem. And people must realise that if Rupert Lowe is against devolution, in other words, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland having assemblies, which are European Union assemblies, he's also against the regionalisation, which is paramount to me, is being against the regionalisation of England. And if he is against that, that means that we can take back London, and we can give Middlesex back to the people of Middlesex, because it was entirely removed and wiped off the map, which is again what they're about to do in the region they describe as the southwest, which basically is Cornwall, Devon, Dorset. What we've got to make sure, Somerset, etc. But what we've got to do is make sure that they don't take that away, that we keep our shires and counties, that we keep our distributed governance at local level. But people now need to take responsibility locally for their own areas. They need to be parish councils, district councillors, county councillors, or shire councillors. And we need to govern ourselves in the way we used to.
I mean, for an example of what a disaster regionalisation will be,
massive.
England, 9 regions and 12 over the British Isles of everything else. But if you look at London specifically, there's a reason they call it a regional assembly. It's because London has been turned into a region. It's enemy territory now. And if you go in and look what goes on with the crime and everything else, it's a complete and utter disaster. And look who is the mayor of that region. You look at mayors they're putting in other places. Yep. And again, this goes back to the Act of Settlement, which got vandalised by the British Nationality Act. It shouldn't be happening, and it is. People have got to start looking at those laws again and enforcing them.
No, exactly that. And I think more and more people are going to understand that we can do it. So I'm looking forward for various reasons. Some intrepidation because of I know personally that these people are crooked at the count, and it's not just about postal ballots, it's about the swap out. And I'm hoping these people have actually listened, and they are prepared to immediately write down, and they've got legal people there at the count as well. They've got to record their interaction with a returning officer when they say we want that examined and we want it examined now. We want to look at that bundle, all of those things. But you need to have enough people at the count that will do that. I mean, they can have a maximum of 10, but they need to immediately launch an election petition if need be.
I mean, I'll go back to your situation in Chester. I mean, the judgment is the judgment. It is what it is. But there's one thing which I'll say which shows you how far this goes. I'm sitting in the court, and I had Irish Jimmy sat next to me, and we were both on the same seat, and I could see the TV screen next to one of the judges. It was right next to him, actually, where you were showing footage of the cheat being carried out on screen. Now, bear in mind, I need glasses, and I could see exactly what was going on that TV screen from where I was. Right next, he said, "What exactly am I looking at, Mr. Moore? I can't see anything here." I sat there thinking, it's there in front of you. Can't you see it? I think it was more like he probably could, and turned a blind eye. The whole system's crooked.
No, the whole system is. And again, what I've just told everyone earlier on, there is a process for impeaching the judges. It's not called impeachment anymore. They have made it easier. But in order to do that and to start bringing back the governance the way it should be, the legal system the way it should be, there's lots of things that need to be reversed. And one way of doing that is literally our representatives in Parliament are the people that can get rid of them judges. And The Crown has no say in it. It is mandatory. Once we say that judge, that judge, that judge, there's a simple way of looking at all them judges, and you say any judge that has provided proof of a lifelong DEI, which is what they have to do, those judges will be removed because they are subverting the English Constitution in preference for an ideology, and they're not allowed to do that.
Well, one of the first steps, as you said earlier, we need to get our own people back in that place for all this to happen, which again goes back to the vote. Listen, Graham, I'm going to have to jump out because I could only give you about 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's been great. We'll have to do this again very soon. It's been long overdue, and we'll have to decide your place or mine.
Yeah.
Don't tell Janet.
No worries. Be lucky.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Thank you. Let me. Well, there was Andy the Gabby Cabby. So I hope you enjoyed that. We're having a conversation again. I just want to show you before I do anything else. In fact, I might go back to something else in a couple of seconds just to show you another element to that. But before I do, I just want to make sure everyone gets this on your screen as we speak. I think it's an extremely important response from Rupert Lowe, because we was all concerned with this, especially the group of people, some people that are involved. Rupert Lowe MP, House of Commons, responded to Andy the Gabby Cabby. Dear Mr. Gifford, thank you for your letter dated the 14th of May. I enclosed a copy of our deportation policy document, which you may find of interest. And also there was the book on Lowe and Oliver, the company, which I thought was fantastic. Again, I could show you the business that they built. I have always made it clear that I support England and the English. Full stop. The Act of Union was a strength, but Europe opened up old wounds with regional governments, which has been divisive. I agree. I can assure you Restore Britain is what it appears to be, and there is no hidden agenda. Would you please be kind enough to write to the House of Commons in future? Best wishes, yours sincerely, Rupert Lowe. And then he signed it personally. It's not PP'd. So he has read this, he has signed it, and he has authorised it to be sent out to Andy with some supplements for Andy to read. So there is the information, all right? So all I'm doing is just showing you that. What I'm going to do now is go back to another element. Let me put that to one side. Get another one of these out. Everyone's still with me? Can everyone see and hear? Give me a 5v5. Don't forget, sharing is caring. The more you share, the more you care. And anyone watching on YouTube, please come over to Rumble. I've been banned so many times on YouTube. It's just not worth putting the effort in on YouTube. I'm not being rude to the people on YouTube. This platform has never even given me so much as a strike, let alone took me off their platform. It is a free speech platform, and we have to manage that. But there you go. See you later, Andy. So Andy has gone 5v5. Everyone can see and hear me. Now, what I'm going to do is go to a particular reference. I've just been sent this, and I'm going to show you, hopefully, what's on the screen that I've just been sent. Let me make sure it comes up on there. This is Andrew Bridgen. Bridgeton. Hang on. So I need to go back. For some reason, it's not shared that properly. There it is again. I'm going to try it and bring it up again and make sure you can see it properly. I might have to bring the actual image up a little bit better than that. Can you see and hear this?
Is grass-fed, finest fillet steak. Make your mind up. Decide which one you want. I know which one I prefer. Thank you very much for listening to me. Here I am in Makerfield in a hotel. I'm stopping over for polling day tomorrow for the get out the vote. And some people have said that Restore Britain should have stood down and let Reform have their votes, as if that was the case, as if everyone who votes Restore would automatically switch their allegiance to Reform. There's a big difference between Restore Britain and Reform UK. And the analogy I use, it's Reform UK are Bill Gates' artificial lab-grown meat burger, and Restore Britain is grass-fed, finest fillet steak. Make your mind up. Decide which one you want. I know which one I prefer. Thank you very much for listening to me. Here I am.
So there you go. That was Andrew Bridgen that's just put that out there. Listen, people, anyone out there, and I know quite a few of our members are in that area, that live in that area, and they will be voting. I hope we've shown you enough from Rupert Lowe, who is the leader, that absolutely supports England and the English, and he's been very clear on that, as he says. If you look through his Twitter feed and put Rupert Lowe, England and or English, you will see everything that he's put up on there, including a big Restore England banner. That's what we've got to look at. And again, things are not going to be done overnight, but the way to start this is to keep voting and go for what we're going for and making sure that we keep pushing forward. What we're doing in the background is the English Constitution Society. We will not stand, and I've already put this out, we voted on it against, the membership voted on it. We won't stand against Restore Britain unless we believe that the candidate is in some way anti-English, right? Or that the campaign team is anti-English, in which case we will have something to say about it. And again, we put that to the vote, and that was agreed by the membership. So everyone should understand we're not packing up and going anywhere. People need to keep talking about England. Now, the English Constitution Society is going to be going out there and giving seminars on the English Constitution and explaining to people why it is that they should be voting, why it is, if you believe you are sovereign, which you are part sovereign to the nation of England. You was given the franchise to vote. It is a right, not a privilege. You must use that right. You must claim that right. If you don't claim that right and use that right, you'll lose that right. And that's exactly what's happening out there with the juries, with the grand juries, everything else, because people haven't been out there voting when they should be. You need to vote for people that are going to do the job of protect your civil liberties and rights. And the only way to do that is to vote people in that understand what they are. And our job in the background is to educate people of what those rights are. They were removed from the curriculum in the early 1970s They was also removed from the bar exams, which mean a lot of judges don't know what they are. And again, I haven't got a problem with educating judges. I think most of you are aware of that. We use the materials that they would use, except we point out what the actual Constitution says, not what they want it to think it means, right? Or what some ideology or socialist or some other group of people want it to mean. And if that means that foreigners cannot be in our parliament, which it does mean that, then foreigners can't be in our parliament. There is a process for putting this country right that is non-violent. We are unique in England of having that process given to us by our ancestors over generations. In fact, well in excess of a millennia in total, if you go back to the Anglo-Saxons. And people really do need to understand that you can do it. But you need to exercise your right and claim your right and vote. That's it. So for everyone, well, I've just been handed a note by Miss Moneypenny. I need to say thank you for two things. One, two more superb books that have been sent to me. Selden Society, reports from the notebooks of Edward Coke, Volume 1, etc., and Volume 2. So I've got another two books that are going on the shelf, and I have actually started to read through them. And a flag. Was there a note in there from who it was from? I don't think I've got the note. I haven't got the note here, but I've also got an original English flag as well, which I'm always grateful for, because they go in the car, and when we go out to certain places, we can put them out. So I am grateful to the person who sent that to me. I'm not going to go on forever tonight. I'm just going to literally say thank you to Andy the Gabby Cabby, Andy the English Gabby Cabby, for coming on the show and explaining that letter. I know he's very pleased to receive a reply. I was very grateful that he shared it with me so I could put it on the show. I'm telling everyone, we're at least 70% of the way there, right? But we have to do this in stages. In my opinion, with the leadership of Rupert Lowe, with his experience of business in particular, and family business and an engineering business and an engineering mind and mindset, he has certainly got what it takes to build and push England back to where we should be, a nation of engineers, a nation of very great people, using our right to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of thought to invent. And this time in the future, any more inventions coming out of England are going to be patented, and we'll be making sure that the inventor gets obviously funded for that in the future, but also any future patents, the money, once the inventor decides to, will go to the English nation, and it will be well spent in providing apprenticeships, not university degrees. We need to cut all this nonsense out with universities and just keep going and keep going and keep going. So I am going to say I wish Restore Britain and Rebecca Shephard, Rupert Lowe and the whole team the very best of luck for tomorrow. I pray that enough people come out to overwhelm the count so they can't get away with cheating. And most importantly, we get someone else who supports England in that parliament, because it's crucial to England that we get someone that finally represents us, the English, in the English part of the parliament. So that's it. I'm going to say good night. God bless. I'm going to also say to everyone, don't forget